Hey, everybody, we're just coming online, so just give us a second. We're in our usual interface between YouTube and, oh, we're good to go. Okay, here we go. All right, so listen, this is my special day because I'm with my special Bryan Christopher, and you all just get to hang out because I only asked Bryan to be with me when we're at an impact point in the meta point between humanity and the greater systems of reality of which we're truly a part. And I'm never out of relationship with him. He's my yummy, he's my beloved, he's my everything. And I was in bed. You're going to be in trouble for about 3 minutes. I was in bed this morning. It was such a classic moment for me. I had a nightmare, and the nightmare was that I'd lost my billfold. I was not at my home. I didn't have my cell phone, and I had 5 minutes before I had to connect in to create a world. And then this voice, this energy voice, said, "Just stay in the river of light." And I went and I shifted and then I stayed in the river of light. And then the next minute I had nightmare number 2. And then nightmare number 2, I'd finally gotten to the studio that I was to meet him in, but I'd missed the address, and it was a studio in LA that was not the studio I was supposed to be at because no cell phone. I had Sarah's, who you all know, I had her bag. And then this time, this channel message, Matrix of Reality, it said, "Just be in the light frequency." And then I knew that it didn't matter if we got on the call or not, that we were in the location of the light frequency within which the connection was to occur. And then I opened my eyes and burst out laughing because it used to be when Bryan would come to our house, if anything was off, the refrigerator would break, the dryer would break, the cars would break, because of this amazing quality of, I would call it coherence and cohesion from the realms of existence that are not human. It does not mean he's an alien. I promise. I've checked his hair. He has no little antenna up there, I promise. Well, that may not be true, but he wouldn't let me see him anyway. So I want to say a little bit about CreateAWorld. It's just my privilege to be in collaboration with the women that are doing this with me. This got given to us as a request by consciousness, really. There's no agenda, there's no intent, except to always be on behalf of life and always have people on that are on behalf of life, regardless of their modality. You know, they're paying attention to what grants life and has us as human beings exist as whole. But today was really important to me. I called Bryan last week, and because I don't, we're in an epicenter, and I'm not going to describe the epicenter, but when you're in an epicenter, my last name is Maat, which means balance and harmony. It stands for those principles. When you're in an epicenter, you want to be moving towards what grants life, you know, what operates on behalf of life, especially if you have the sand giving way beneath human feet. And so this is the field phenomenon conversation. This is not a what do we do, how do we do it, what's going on, all that yuck. It's really just what Bryan has a voice, and he has a voice that comes from a realm of creation that gave me back my life. And that's the last thing I want to say. It was great, Bryan. I got to review our history when I was busy coming out of the duality. And I really could reflect on my ability to stay strong in consciousness. And I don't mean conceptual consciousness. My ability to stay strong in consciousness is because for 5 years, I sat with him. I didn't understand a word he said. But it's sort of like being in a forest and nobody ever taught you the word for the trees, or nobody ever taught you the words for the sky. But it was really clear where I wanted to be. It was really clear that I wanted to exist in that kind of state of existence. And I told him this when we were talking last week. I totally remember sitting and my fat ass, I was much heavier than I am now, and watching him, and all of a sudden the veil parted, and I comprehend, not understood, but I resonated and comprehended I was in the world of it. And it doesn't matter that I can't think in it, like I can't think in the words of it. It doesn't matter that I can't get to logical understanding of it. It's like a beautiful bath with nothing in the way of my own existence. And that has been a permanent strength that I have, and capacity even, that I've carried since that time.
Nice.
Last thing, Liz is monitoring YouTube for me. She'll send it to me on text. So if you have any questions or any comments, just write it in the YouTube chat, and then she'll forward it to me by text. Since I'm usually the one that runs it, I will get a little cross-eyed if I try to do it when I'm the co-creator of the conversation. So Bryan, I'm just going to turn it over to you. I'm not even going to introduce your labels or anything. So it's all yours. Have fun.
What it's about, for me anyway. And that's the point. The seriousness of life and all of the, well, I have words that come up, but the words, while they carry they're an instrument of carrying energy a certain way, very rarely when they come through me, there's not a literal meaning to the words as much as there is that stream. You said river of consciousness, and I think stream. Not like a stream that we babble on about, but stream in a way that my view of everything is zoom fields and ways to articulate into the present consciousness. It's so amazing. I've been working with young people recently, more than ever, in conversations about their interest in computer technology, AI, and all of the things that creating programs for people to, and you mentioned internet earlier. And so it's in that realm. It's in that place that the internet allows that flow to occur without anything meaning anything. And to tap that, I think, is really valuable, and it's a good place. And I'm learning to relanguage. It's a reset for sure, because I'm looking at my life in the language I have used for pretty much my whole life, and now looking to see what the language is for these people who exist now, come in and to live now, and their future. And so it's a reset, an update, and a bringing clear to that stream and letting it just roll. And every time that you and I are speaking and I'm looking, it's be. And then I hear Frank Sinatra, doobie, 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 doo. It slows me back. But that's the current meaning I'm giving to anything now, which is if it doesn't resonate in being, then there's no use. And that usury of being, that what you talk about, your language alerts so much, so nicely put. It resonates and it puts an activity into what light is. I went to light because I guess in the beginning, it might have been a reluctance to follow human consciousness, to follow anything relating to it, because it got this from the movie. It yucked my yum, was always my joy was always getting yucked by stuff that people brought in, and I really refuse to be sickened by that, to be upset by that. Lately, I have two words: mediocrity, which repulses me, and my bar. That bar is always a bar that we set that doesn't have a meaning of any quality. It's not or qualitative. It doesn't have an existence, but it has a way of driving the force we are. And that bar is always set so high for myself. I've never been competitive in the world, but I've been very self-competitive. And it's been a driving through me in my whole life in all ways. Physically, because that's how I grounded myself in a way, to be in that formless reality consistently. It wasn't the technique, it wasn't the words, it wasn't the performance of something, it was the space I was in. And I loved that space. I loved what brought that space to me: music, beauty, all of those things that stimulated me where I lived on my bar, that nobody else did. And that was confusing in the beginning. It isn't anymore. And I refuse to have it be sickening, because you have to dwell there. You know, you have to create a choice to live in the misery that is perpetuated here, mostly in words, mostly in beliefs, mostly in the dominant voice, whoever the dominant voice is. So I'm looking for the simplest way. Simple truths have always been the important ones for me. And the simplest way is what really brings it to that essence, to that way that you said just to me just a moment ago, that river, that stream, that flow, whatever ignites that and exuberantly perpetuates it. I yield to that. I can't not be there, no matter what. Along the way, you know, I was told by people who never thought I was thinking or listening to them, because whenever anybody spoke, I was looked away. I wanted to see what people were saying because I didn't trust what was coming out of their mouth. And that came from me at a year old, when I was, you know, standing by my crib looking at people, saw this lovely energy around them. And then it sort of filtered into their brain. And so that energy changed, first in thought, then in speech, then in action. And I went, wow, this is really complex. They lost the simple truth of that connection. And so when you say the words you say, it it pings to me. You know, I get pinged, because I don't have to think the way you do. I don't have to think that I'm bright or dull. I don't have to qualify. And thank you for not qualifying or labeling me, because one of my favorite uses of a word is wackadoodle. And the more I tell people that I am, they refuse it. They love whatever I say I am. You know, it's not screwball, it's just wackadoodle. I just don't hold on to anything that has to do with anything. And you choose words in your way that ping to me. They wake up a place that I'm glad we connected in and found to sustain. That's my blessing. Truly love you.
You're my yummy. You can be wackadoodle to you, but you're my yummy.
Thank you.
You're definitely my yummy.
Quite mutual, actually.
Bryan, would you talk a little bit, just whatever comes to mind? Just take what you get, okay? Because I don't know how to frame it. Around human identity. Like, what the F happened? You know?
Human identity has been fixed into conditions. And, you know, we can't talk about anything that's physical without it being conditional. We're in a physics world and we're in a condition a system of conditions. So when we come in beyond condition, it fights an irregularity. It stimulates irregularity in what people hold to. So identity is a fixed and set reality people have to work on. They have to create it to bounce themselves off of, to feel like they are. It's not being. Identity is not a good word for me. It's not an interesting word for me. And I don't mind talking about it, but it's hats. When I hear words like that, I see a hat that people put on. And they live protecting and surviving with that, holding on to that hat. And so that, what happened to my screen?
Why I love you.
Just kabooblotted. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, love. That's my latest, gratitude and love. I can't anymore. It seems impossible to be forgiving of identity structures, because they're like goals used to talk to me. They're limiting. They're constructs that don't have openness or don't have play. They don't have cohesion. They don't have coherence. They can't be, because they have to do whatever it takes to continue creating that.
It's very fascinating in the field of Tantra Maat right now, because I'm going to do a demo when people will say, I just feel this sense of kind of calm or happiness, but then I can't talk to anybody. I can't seem to interact.
Right.
And you can see a kind of a conditioned, something must be wrong with that, when it's truthfully something's really right about that.
Yes.
And so that nature of being does seem to be emergent.
Yeah.
It does. And about a year ago, maybe two, I said, too bad, the self is rising. It doesn't give a flying whatever for your personal identity now. It's rising. And because, and this, I have a question, because it doesn't live in identity, also not one of my favorite words, but I did it on purpose. Because the seeing is identity, people don't know how to see.
Right.
And I mean in the way you use see, the way you...
They don't validate it. They can't validate it from a point.
Yeah. So where would they, where is not the right word. It's not directional. But in regard to that, what is the paying attention? Because if we can stop being driven by what's asking us to pay attention, and you said gratitude and love in the bar. So just anything there.
Yeah. Yes, it was all, it's a funny thing, what do you do? What do you have? What do you do? Everything that people want to know about has to do with that hat. The hat they wear, the hat they want to identify somebody else wears. So being gets put aside. And since be is not as formless, and this all goes with what we think we know. We think we can talk about words and we think we know what they mean, what they are. We don't, for the most part, unless they circle around that identity structure. But being is an interesting way to experience living, because it is an emergence of that self beyond anything, all the time, continuously. And the funny thing is, there's nothing to do about it, only be. So, there's no way out of the place that creates any sort of argument or discussion. There's nowhere to go. And that's what ties up. And the two things we don't know about, really don't know, is miracle and transformation. We don't know. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know what creates it. We only know the outcome. And then when there's an outcome, people they go into the wonderment of what's caused the outcome. And they never know, because we have to live in the outcome. And being creates the outcome. Nothing we do. We think we do. So, and it always seems lately, I hear myself talk to people, especially young people, and I do talk about the brain. And I always have to go in and forgive the conversation, because I'm not making the brain wrong. The brain's a wonderful instrument because it runs stuff to keep us going. That's great. But it is a computer with a lid that opens and closes, and it's only a storage of information. And I've always, for 60 years, I've talked about this camcorder that is running and storing information in the brain. That's all it is. It can't give you being. It can't give you what you're going to be, what you're going to. Can't. It doesn't. It can't. It'll crash. And it won't crash. It just wants to take over.
It's faithful to itself.
And people, yes, and people allow it to take over. Therein lies identity. It isn't even a choice, unless you get to the bigger picture and see that everything is. It's a going along, which it's difficult for me to even talk about, because it's a violation of being. You know, it says this is more important than that, and being will subside. It will take off. It's invisible. It doesn't have any hold on what things need to be.
I think that's one of the things that we're registering. This instinct aspect of a human being has been highly generated as instinct to survive physically.
Yeah.
But there seems to be a new instinct, the instinct to survive as a being.
Yes.
And so I'm just listening to people speaking like, I don't know, I just can't go there anymore. I just can't. I just am really careful about what I say now. There's this instinct, survival instinct of being.
I can't hear you say careful, but watchful. Yeah, I'm
Clear.
constantly
Go for it.
editing process of the words that flow through me, through my ears, through my life, because they're so potent in form. You know, I love creating reality. I love it. But I don't love creating that reality from how people are trying to frame it all the time. So I hear you. And so now when I think of people, I've actually told people who want to stay in touch with me, I said, ping me. I'll get your love. I'll get everything. Just ping. You're there. And that's a very real thing. I don't need to know your story. Ping. And if there is a story, ping, I love you. Ping, I've got something, I need to be in touch with you. I need to, we need to chat. But ping, just alert that being is there. Being is the resonating chamber of everything that we want and go for and realize. Tough one.
And it's emergent.
Yes,
clearly.
Absolutely is. And everybody's worried about the world and what's happening with children coming in. I said, they're in pause. They're just paused. And they'll do whatever they do to get anybody's attention, to keep seeing how ridiculous things are. And they're paused. And when that dies out, I used to think it was going to be within my lifetime. Now I know that probably isn't possible. Age sort of. Maybe. Oh, maybe. I'm still hopeful.
You know me, I'm the one that keeps her leaning against the wall regardless of circumstance. So I'm still on for our lifetime.
That's funny. I gesture a lot instead of speaking. I'm a walking emoji, you know. It's easier. It's easier to be a smiley face than talk about being happy, you know. My favorite word to identify myself is happy being. All right, Brian, I'm a happy being. Be a happy being. It's a great start to everything, you know. And I agree. It's clear to me that there's great joy in that. I don't have to make up being joyful or being happy. I am. And I'm tuned in. I feel. You know me, you've heard me over the million years we've known each other, that I'm alert to everything. And I don't pride myself on listening or trying to understand. I never, ever channeled or talked or existed in understanding. I never did. I never have. It's not a carrot that dangles for me. I never have. I can't. It's not possible. Understanding and being don't jive for me, because being gets it. Being, you know,
My emoji.
being is tongue-tied, you know. But you know, the interesting thing that I observe, because you're in Albuquerque, I'm in Los Angeles now, is get out of my way. You're in my way. Get out of my way. And so all of the words that are generational, grace, appropriateness, style, you know, how to articulate being, you know, and expressing oneself, it's been tarnished by negative. And being isn't negative. Doesn't have it. Doesn't know it. Doesn't exist there. So when I go out now, I'm mindful of myself. You ask how old I am. Being 83, I'm the older gentleman that I never knew I'd be. Never thought about it. Never thought about being older. Ever did. Ever. Still don't. I look, you know, with that creep following me around. I get it. And when I'm out, I move in being. I don't look like age when I move. So people don't move out of my way. They don't give me slack. They don't, you know, and I'm wobbly and ready to fall over, and I can't see enough, you know, sometimes to step. And they won't move. And they're on their cell phone and they're in my face before they're going to bump into me. And there's no compliability with my being there. And that is irksome in a way. So someone just said, well, you should carry, I hate the word cane, but stick. Stick works for me. It's like sometimes my stick, and they look at my stick before they look at me, and then they change a little bit. They either they'll pull their dog in, or they'll pull their stroller over, or they'll, you know, kind of wake up with my presence there. And that's been kind of fun. But then I walk out because I don't need it. So I walk out without it most times. Then I wish I had it, you know, like an old Frenchman, just to beat people out of my way. Get out of my way. But that's a hardness. Here it's traffic, and it's not traffic. It's just people's lack of compassion for themselves. There's no alert to being, you know, they've been whipped down to a point that they think that's their identity. I'm a whipped victim, you know. And those are all mentalities for me, my view. I have attempted to always acknowledge people's point of view and have them own it, realize their point of view is a powerful one. It's an individual one. And when that's opened from being, everything is lovely. It's lovely. When my point of view comes from being, man, all I am is happy. I can't stop smiling. What are you laughing about? What are you happy about? I said, I'm a happy kid. I'm not laughing at you. I don't exist for you, so why should you exist for me? But the space, if you're taking up space in my universe, then it needs to be joyful. And if it's not, thank you. It's nice to see you out of my beyond my view. I don't keep that in my point of view, so there's no battle going on. You know, I grew up in show business, and that gave me a very potent, I would say, point of view, because I saw the worst of it. I wanted to enjoy the best of it, and I did. Like I said, the space of it. I still, you know, want to watch great movies, anything. I want to see the movie. I want to live the movie. I want it to turn out. I want it to be happy. I'll go through pretty much anything, even the bad movie, if it makes sense and comes out some way. It says, yes, that's it. You know, you did it. And there's so much trash. I think one thing here was the bad design of exhaust, that people breathe the exhaust more than the fresh point of view of what's coming in. They got locked into the excrement, the importance of words that come out, like it's exhaust of whatever it is. Dump it, clear it, whatever you have to do. Get that out of your way. And you don't have to say it, you know, like the things that I say, take it to the bathroom and flush it. It doesn't need to be out here. But now that emergence, I think, is forcing, it's like a push-up, you know, it's forcing it all to come out. I don't think we're in a negative state. I think we're in a positive state. It's transformational to me. Everything is wonderful. I don't have a point of view that it's bad. I won't turn on the television. Well, Netflix and Max and Prime Video, and I make choices to what I want to look at. The news, no. I had a friend call something about how horrible things were going on in Israel. And I said, what about it? I'm not informed. And you know, I like to be informed. I love information. It's a powerful word for me. I go after it. Any kind of information pings me. I love to have that around me because I get myself through it, you know? And man, do I love language. Always have. But when language comes through me, my meaning comes through my language, not a meaning. I think that's been the struggle people have had because they listen so literally, and it boggles their mind. They can't follow my words because they won't make sense until they do.
I think that's shifting though, because oh God, I'm sitting here without words, but I want to go for it. It's what you just said. I'm excited. I'm very excited about human beings because
Me too.
They are aware of their entrapment. They're also in the naivete of thinking it should not be there, that somehow they did something wrong, therefore it's there. So that's hard. That It's like, no, you should be celebrating. You should be
Yeah.
dancing on the street with your cane, by the way. But the but the thing you just said pinged me into this. It's over now. This is a planet that doesn't do well going out of balance. She just goes back into balance. She's got a real simple technology, you would say. I guess my frustration, or maybe it's my dream, Brian. I'm about to cry, so it must be closer to the dream.
Yeah, you're in.
My dream is I would love it if human beings were in the joy and excitement of their actual awakening, of their being is stronger now than their identity.
Yeah.
And it's this weird embarrassment of belonging, this weird belonging that happened that left human beings not able to belong to themselves, which, as you said, is joyful.
Well, I think two things going on: a breaking up of herd mentality and fear mentality, and they're lethal, both of them. People and addictions. In the most recent time, whatever's, and time is going so fast. I can't reach it. I can't claim time because it's gone. That's the one thing about now. And years ago, when I saw time, looking out the windshield, that time, turning and looking out the side window, driving a car or moving, and things were going faster. And I thought, well, I'm still in the same place. If I look this way, I'm moving with time over here. And then when I saw trains passing, one coming and one going, it was that fast. And that was how time is. It's malleable. It's changeable. It's manipulative. And so now I just watch it go by fast. And I don't keep track of it.
And it's hard to keep track of.
Yes.
Somebody said the other day, Julio Odwalla, you might remember, he's way back in the transformational world, and he said multitasking is now a thing of the past.
Yes. Yes, and that's why I talk about dimension, because it's interdimensionality. There's no linear quality to being. And then things I read, Einstein said, or this was quoted, and they're always there. The information is always there the same, no matter what the mouthpiece is, about existence, the omnipresent, ever-changing, opening, and it's always about being. And then people get stuck on the focus, the concentration, what does it mean? And they get out of that stream. They get out of the river, they don't have fun. I think it's a good time. I agree with you. It feels negative. It looks negative from that awareness, but it's not. And you remember, I'm sure, because I talked about it a lot in my travels in China in 1983. When I saw this, in fact, I wrote in my book, if I hadn't seen it then, maybe I wouldn't have as much confidence in how things are going, because it would seem upsetting. But I saw it then. I saw all corporate structures crumbling. I saw this all happening. I didn't know what it would look like. It looks pretty funny, terrible, but it has to be wonderful. That's what transformation is. It's upsetting. It'll obliterate anything that gets in its way that's not being. it just won't, it just destroys it. And it doesn't feel good to be in the destruction, of course. Maybe it does, I don't know. But it carries me. I'm carried. You said you're going to cry. I'm constantly touched. And it hits a place that can be filled with emotion, and it's not emotional. It's touched, and that's being. When being gets pinged, it floods. We can't contain it. Can't contain it. Possible to contain it. And I don't have to say tears of joy. I'm not crying, I'm not sad, because the perception, then you're pausing into the world out of creation. And I can't be there. I can't. That's not where I exist. You know that. You don't either.
I was talking a little bit about someone earlier before we got on the call, and it was one of the, I don't know how to introduce this, but I'm gonna do my best. I remember when you went around the world with I think it was restoring the light crystals and pyramids. I think it's a while back, but I find it so fascinating that this many years later, I don't remember how many. I just remember having you in bed and sitting there, and I'd come out because you were recovering, and I would come out and my head would feel like it was the size of Manhattan, because you'd been giving me so much information, because you were getting rid of it, and I'd come out like, whoa. But now here I am. There's a bunch of us doing something called planetary grid work, and it's so phenomenal, Bryan, because that back then that you were doing tracked into now.
Yes.
And
yeah, for me, it does.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I want to just imprint into this conversation. It doesn't really require discussion even, but we think everything's happening in humanity, and it's just not happening. In my opinion, it's not happening in humanity. It's happening in the greater systems of reality, yeah, in the process of restoring the greater systems of reality.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And you were talking about that before we got on, that you don't really, I've sort of conned you into paying attention down here in the human realm, but I'm very clear it's not where you pay attention, which is my point.
Yeah. I love your point. You've always had the wonderful ability, I use the word grounded. People misunderstand grounded. I love people around me anyway. They're really getting the enjoyment of being spaced, which is not cuckoo. It's spaced is allowing the cells in us to open, to create space, so the synapses are light more than data. And that is occurring. It's absolutely occurring. When Wonder Woman came out, the only part of that was when she put her cuffs together and that special effects happened. I love that because it's energy. My favorite word today, and I use it a lot, is energy, energetic. And I started to look, I said, what does energy mean? When I say energy, what do people think? What do they think I'm talking about? What do they think I'm saying? What is energy? And then I looked at some of the definition. I thought, well, maybe they can get close. Maybe they can get some kind of look at it or whatever. But it's not. It's that same nothing place. It's that same no place. It's that same nothing going on. What does that create? Happy. It's a wipeout. That's what I love. When you said reset, I just went, whoa, yes. Hit the button. It's not delete, it's reset. It's obliterate it and have it new. that ignition, it's in me. My cells dance with myself, you know. I know I may wobble when I walk a little bit, but I can sure dance clearly.
One of the people commented that you needed to understand that they just couldn't see you because you're all being. They could only see the cane.
The hat, you know, so the white hair disappears, and you know, I sort of bounce around.
There are some technical difficulties in becoming a being in a world that is not attentive to seeing being. There are a couple of technical difficulties with that. You can't be heard, you can't be seen.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that started to happen in 2023. It's fascinating, Bryan, because people would say, because I have a global community, they would say, it's like I'm invisible. It's like I no longer exist. And I said, well, I just think you've left the paradigm. You know, I just think you've left the reality. Well, I don't think. I mean, you've left the reality within which you are allowed to exist, basically.
Some time ago, we gave that meeting up in whatever you call it. Grass Valley, I don't know what the place is.
Yeah, Grass Valley.
Is it Grass Valley?
Mm-hmm.
Lovely place. But I noticed, I don't know what transparency means, but as a word that I look at, you'd become that. You'd become transparent, not invisible.
Beautiful.
Yes, you were beautiful. Yeah. You are. But I experienced that in that way there, as I haven't before that way.
Mm.
And I knew something amazingly wonderful was going on. The circumstances were always not what I wanted to go on, you know. But there was something going on, and I'm glad that it was going on, that it is going on. I'm glad.
I'm very moved by that, Bryan, because, and I mean moved not in the sense of emotions, moved like I was here and now I'm here. Because in the global community, vulnerability, transparency, affinity, and one other, I can't remember, intimacy. They're not like the rules, but they're the what to aim for, I guess you would say. Yeah, aim for it. But what you just said, you know me, I'm technical in my head. I love that because transparency is visibility. And I never got that till you said it, but it's your visibility. It isn't you being something you're not.
Right.
Brilliant. A lot to chew on that one.
Nice.
I'll curl up with my big puppy grand dog and we'll commune about that. He's very transparent.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, but being is an amazing place, but the qualities of being are vulnerable. The feeling of naivete, but not being naive.
Innocent.
Yes. Never lose your child enthusiasm or innocence. The thing that I prefer not to have is seeing people's damage. How much we talked about identity. Most identity structures perpetuate damage. What's happened.
Would you say damage or harm?
No, that they hold an identity of being damaged.
Gotcha. I'm with you now.
Say something about that to me.
I just noticed that there's collision. I feel sense see here a collision, and it seems to be a collision between harm and innocence. Like if we could all just get we've been harmed and then we're just done. Okay, we're done. We got harmed. Okay,
Right.
now let's be innocent. So there's something in what you said that,
right.
yeah, that pulls that up for me, basically.
Yeah. And it's irksome because humanity, you know, began with this lie of care. Care has always been, I felt it's one of those words that should have been taken out of our dictionary, out of our language, because it was a manipulative tool that we should care. Of course, my favorite story that I tell about birth is that we're parasites and we have a host and we will kill the host to get here. We're not nice, and certainly not caring, only of self. Now that obliterates language of narcissistic, of self-centered, of selfish, all the words that it conjures up. But that's what being is. It doesn't have any construct. That's what I love the reset, because it's a cosmic flush, you know, it just flushes out all that impedes that lovely being. That's why I love dancing so much, because I could trance out and I could have somebody that enjoyed being with me doing that, or by myself. But I love partnering. Dancing was so lovely with someone who is accountable for their own being, you know.
I remember, because we danced. It was the one thing I could do. Back when I was making so much trouble for you.
You certainly brought a lot for me to look at.
I want to go back to what you just said. I want to try to make it a very cohesive statement. It was also a ping. It is a ping, and that is when it's so weird, this nature of being, which seeks to be the expression of itself as itself. And there is something that can appear not caring about that in our present society. But then if you look, not letting that be, look what we are doing to each other. We're saying, well, you have to be this. You can't be yourself. You have to be this to me. You have to provide this for me. I can't be with you because you're not being what I need you to be for me. So that whole mess of insanity we're in is because nobody's saying, well, not where I am.
Yeah.
That's not real where I am.
Right.
And it's fine if it's real where you are.
Yeah.
Just not real where I am. So that's the crisis that I feel is happening.
Yes, I get it.
That we're being forced back into being as identification.
Yeah.
Amazing. And
of course,
now I'm going to come to LA because then we have to dance. Now you see, these are my new needs that are being met. I would never be caught dead in LA. I would never drive in LA, but if you're going to dance, I'll show up and we'll
come into Santa Fe, so you know, I'll see you.
Oh yeah, one of the funny things about Bryan and I is I would move somewhere and then he would move there, and then he would move somewhere and I would move there. So the only one that I escaped was LA.
You visited.
Yeah, that was enough.
Yes. But you know, what's been created for me here is a compound. It's a cup of gold. It's a place in this area that talk about, it just defines itself. in beauty.
Yeah.
And one thing that was missing was a water feature, and I bought it. Last year, I bought myself a fountain. And to
Wow.
hear that water running all the time, and then when I get to the ocean, I'm fine, but I'm not feeling like a fish on concrete, you know?
Yeah, very clear. It's beautiful where you live.
Yes. It's a
It's
garden.
really beautiful.
I'm lucky.
It's not LA.
No.
No.
And it is, you know, I walk a
Yeah.
block, it is, but
Mhm.
you know me, you've always, you sort of typed me, and my wife also did, people do. You knew Deirdre, didn't you?
I did.
Lovely. We still are but much better friends than married, of course. But she, you know, excuse my language, but she was really pissed off, I mean, at me. And when she would say so, she would say, because no matter how I showed up, which was a validation of being, now, of course, then it was too, but I was a king, and it didn't matter if I was in Oshkoshes or naked or in burlap or tuxedo. It didn't matter. How I showed up was elegant. You reiterated that along the way a little bit sometimes. You know, I love environments and space and beautiful things, but I'm okay without them, you know, I'm happy, but I just love them. I love to take care of them, and I love to share them. I miss that I don't have those things now to share with the people I truly love. Because when I had them, I didn't have loving, careful, beautiful people around me. I was doing the work, the healing, the fixing, you know, the caring.
Yes.
And I care.
Yeah, you do. We have 3 minutes.
But I had to say care was the heart.
Yeah.
It wasn't something. And so I watched and I said, I made a distinction, what matters and care. And when I say things don't matter, I can dismiss them. But I watch when I say I don't care, because I have reset the button of existence. And so I can be with someone this close and they're dead. I don't see them. I've dismissed them because there's no being, you know, there's no excitement no charge to allow that to be around me. So, you know, when you were talking earlier, it's we get put in a place where what comes up is alone, lonely, loner. People still don't understand that about me, how happy I am being. Whether I'm by myself or with people, but the choice to be with people or something I'm doing has to be equal happy. You know, I can't sustain a place that doesn't resonate with me, that I don't resonate with.
Yeah. Everything you're saying, Bri, is I also get accused. I'm called arrogant,
Yes.
selfish,
Blue.
don't care, just out for my own whatever, etc., and so on. But here's the deal. One of the things that I discuss is I'm not people-centric, I'm feel-centric. I pay attention to what grants life and what has life exist as whole. It's a very simple mantra. Do you know? It's just a very simple rule. But what's so beautiful is you as a being and me, we could say, that those of us that have lined up with what gives us life, or in your words, what gives you happy, are the cutting edge of returning humanity back to itself.
Yeah.
It is that cutting edge. And we're going to close, Bri. So I want to see if you have a last statement not that we ever have left statements. We have pauses before
Thumbs up
next.
is just how blessed I feel to show up.
Yeah, me too.
New people I'm meeting, go to a party, you brought light into the room. Great. Didn't have to do a darn thing. Yeah.
I want to thank you for sticking around. I know a couple of times it was hard, and I'm thanking your body. You know, I'm thanking your body for sticking around.
And just recently, I started emptying everything. I wasn't going to be here anymore. I didn't feel. And thank you, because I have my little light thing and my little place for my phone to go on YouTube. But you know, I'm not quick to jump into things and do things. I have to feel it. They have to ping. You know, it all has to go. And
For
now,
those of you that don't know, I caught him in a thought last week. His thought was, I really want my voice out there again. And I went, well, funniest thing. Why don't you come on with me?
there you are.
Which is the nature of our love affair, isn't it, Bryan?
So are you being or are you angel being? Are you being?
All right, darling. We're off for a while and on again later, okay?
With love.
Thank you for your presence. Take precious care. And thank you, everybody, for being with us.
Yes.
May you be impacted greatly.